Hey, I'm Jay.
I'm Pete Mosby from So Many Shows, SoManyShows.com.
Hey, we're here to talk about The Blacklist. Excited to talk about this, man?
Always excited to talk about Blacklist. I was excited to talk about Blacklist 4 years ago when it
4 years
first came
ago,
out.
yeah, and here we are now, man. So let's talk real quick. We'll kind of do a real quick breakdown of the finale from last year just to remind people what might have happened because Blacklist returns next week. What do you got? What do you got?
Mr. Kaplan, huh? What do you think about Mr. Kaplan this episode?
Man, she ended up being ruthless. And then at the end, jumps off the bridge.
Well, she originally, to her credit, she did try to get Reddington to kill her first. So she wasn't going to go that route.
She did, but she had to do what she had to do because of her contingency plan.
What do you think it is?
And it's that evil suitcase, man. There's always a twist and a turn. Always a twist and a turn in this show.
All right, so what do you think about the new cleaner?
Oh, Mr. Prescott. Yeah, he's a pretty cool dude, man. I like how you call him. He just comes in, tells you what to do, and cleans up the mess. And very interesting that our own Donald Wrestler ended up using him.
Yeah, I love how he pointed out everything in the how they pointed him out with Reddington early, and then all of a sudden he went from like a blacklister to just like the worker, and he even ends up working for Wrestler.
That's right. Twists and turns every corner.
Yeah, Wrestler has some episode. What do you think about Wrestler?
You know, this guy, you know what's funny about Wrestler, actually? In season 1, I didn't even like the guy. I thought he was too baby-faced, like this can't be some tough FBI agent, and we watched him kind of grow from season 1 through season 4, and especially in the last season and a half, we've seen him kind of struggle as that I'm a hardcore FBI agent, I do everything the right way, and boy, holy smokes, then he ends up needing to fix her himself. What?
His moral compass seems to have gotten broken during the course of the show.
2 or 3 different times.
He ended up blackmailing someone this episode. He ended up accidentally killing someone this episode. And then under the same alias he was using to blackmail, he hires Prescott to make the full circle.
Ta-da! He's like a mini Raymond Reddington.
Well, he is in his training. He has good training too. So let's get to the big part of the episode. What was the big reveal?
Man, guess who is Daddy?
Well, it certainly can't be Tom Keene. Tom Keene.
Oh, Tom Keene. Listen, we'll talk later about your love for Tom Keene because I do not have the same love. But Raymond Reddington DNA test.
The DNA test. How'd they get that?
Oh, man. Harold. Checking out some old files at the FBI, snipping a little piece of shirt, getting that blood tested from way back in the day, only to confirm what probably millions of people have thought, that yes, indeed, he is the father.
Now, you don't think that what Harold Cooper did was a little illegal?
Oh, of course it is. But I think, we've seen for a long time now that Harold is kind of Keene's father figure anyway, right? He's acted that way.
I'll ask you a really good question right now, actually. Do you think out of all the characters, since we've all seemed to watch them break their moral compass, you think Aram is still the only character who's maintained it throughout the whole show?
Well, that's a good question. I think you got to say probably because especially there at the end when he's talking to the grand jury and he knows he needs to tell the truth no matter what question is asked of him, no matter what it does to him or his friend. You see him kind of turn that corner and not turn against his friend. So even he might now be swayed some.
I agree. Aram can go either way. Coming up in the next season, the show loves to throw a twist and change characters up and bring them back and forth. How many times have you loved and hated Reddington throughout the whole show?
Oh, well, for me, I love Reddington no matter what. I love him no matter what. Even when he shot Kaplan, love Raymond Reddington. I want to grow up to be Raymond Reddington.
Well, you know he's a very horrible person, right? Like, people normally...
It's a matter of perspective.
He's an awful person. Perspective. He blackmailed the whole leadership in this episode.
Those we call those tiny details. Okay, he has to do what he has. He has to protect Elizabeth and the baby.
Okay, well, let's get onto the suitcase, the mystery suitcase, because
All
in the
right.
suitcase there was bones. I saw bones from her body.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you saw Mr. Kaplan when she dug it up said, "I'm sorry, Catherine." Right? That's the name. That's the name of Liz's mom. No.
Katerina?
Yeah,
Catherine?
Katerina. Okay.
Katerina.
Katerina. Yeah, I don't know the exact name, but that's who's in the suitcase. So why would she be
Apparently.
in the suitcase?
Well, it has to do with something that Reddington apparently did. If
Oh,
you
you
can
mean
believe
you know?
all the hype. Listen, it could just be hype. These directors in Hollywood, they throw in these little curveballs to make you think something. Maybe it's not Katerina at all. All right, I know wishful thinking. I know.
All right. How about the man, the myth, the legend who controls the fate of the suitcase? Tom Keen.
Oh, Tom, he's such a chump.
The best character of the whole
He's such
series.
a chump. No,
He made a spin-off around him. That's how good he is.
you know why they did that? To get him off the blacklist in the first place.
But he's going to be back this season. It just
I
you haven't seen it yet.
know. I
Big
know.
secret.
I know. But it's just, again, another one of those crazy twists and turns that we're used to seeing from the blacklist, because that's really how the episode ends. He's getting the suitcase. You see this guy pulling it out, and it pans up, and, of course, it just has to be Tom. And it couldn't just be some random dude. It was Tom Keen.
Our biggest question going into this season, and the thing you most look forward to seeing this season.
The biggest question is what's going to come of the suitcase. And even for me, how long do I have to wait to find out what's happening in the suitcase? And I'll kind of come back to that in a little bit too. But, I think really what I'm most interested to see is where the team goes to now. They've had all this craziness happen, and they just went through the grand jury and the potential indictments, and they were all going to jail, and then all of a sudden it went away. But now Kaplan's dead. We know Raymond's the father. What's next for them? Where do they go? What do they do? How do they have to rebuild? Who trusts who? What's going to happen to poor Wrestler now that he's a mini Raymond Reddington? I mean, there's a lot of questions. So I'm just interested to see how the group as a whole moves forward.
I care about how one person moves forward. You know who that is?
Oh, God, please don't say it. Oh, God.
Yeah.
No. So when he dies in episode 1, what are you going to do?
I'm going to make a post, a hashtag that says, if Tom Keen dies, we riot. And hopefully they do some Game of Thrones thing where they come back as like the evil Tom Keen. And he can't die yet. I mean, there's just certain characters. They already killed my other favorite character in the show, Mr. Kaplan, or at least should I say, she killed herself. So now if I lose Tom Keen, I'm sitting here like, all right, so what am I watching?
But wait, is she dead? How do you know she's dead?
You're right. You're right about that. We didn't in TV world. If you don't see them dead, they can still be alive. We learned that from.
Do you think it's possible? You think it's possible?
Of course, it's possible. Like I said, in the TV world, if you don't see them dead, they're not dead. It's just, I mean, you could talk to anybody, listen to a podcast, anybody involved in TV, and they'll tell you the same thing, because Mr. Kaplan could be gone for one season and be back in 2 seasons down the road. Oh, I was resting here after I broke my ribs.
Right. But do you think she has more story to tell, or you think her story's done no matter what?
I mean, I think she's done. She was a cleaner. Prescott's a good cleaner. They introduced him in this episode. He seems to be like Wrestler's working with him even under an alias. I'm sure Reddington's going to work with him in the future. I think Prescott, you might see him more often and less of Kaplan. I'm not saying Prescott's going to replace Kaplan on the payroll. But if they need somebody, I think you're going to see He might have 1 or 2 more appearances this season, just as a side cleaner guy, nothing like serious.
Sure. And before we really talk about the little snippet that NBC has released for the premiere coming up, character, I don't know, he just seems to be forgotten sometimes, but I really like him, and he might be one of my top 2 or 3. What do you think about Dembe?
Dembe, I mean, I like him. He's my favorite guy. I liked him and Mr. Kaplan. I didn't really like Reddington because I think he's an awful human being, but he does get stuff done. And Dembe does fill his orders out. So in order for me to like Mr. Kaplan or Dembe, I got to break my own moral compass for characters, so to speak.
I'm proud of you.
I do like Dembe. I
love Dembe.
I like when the last season when he got tortured. I thought that was cool, the way he just stood tall and waited his time and took the beating.
Yeah, he's a tough little SOB, that's for sure.
he's been loyal, and
Sure.
loyalty's the biggest asset you can have in a friend and a partner, a colleague.
100%.
I like Dembe. I would say he's moved up a lot in the
Right.
last few years because, like I said, characters are dying, characters are leaving, characters are going down. Dembe moves up slowly, boom.
Now, do you think he'll ever turn into Mr. Kaplan where he'll turn that corner and no longer be loyal? Or do you think he's loyal till the end?
I think he would have to find out that Raymond Reddington had his father in bones in a suitcase hidden somewhere in order for that to happen. I think
Touche. Hey, that's a good point. All right, so let's talk about the clip for the premiere that's next week. What did you see? What did you think? What are you looking forward to out of it?
I saw Elizabeth Keene and Raymond Reddington, I guess, hanging out on a dock with some boats, and I read a review that said they're hanging out by the pool because Red's not chasing a jet to go fight some kind of crazy war or blackmail somebody or walk into like a drug lord's den and trick them or use a favor. He's actually relaxing and enjoying his retirement. But I mean, can I go past one episode?
Right, and that's a good question. See, I saw a little thing where Megan and James Spader and somebody else, I forget who else it was, but they were talking about the clip that was released too, and that, what you see is kind of a very laid-back atmosphere. Like, instead of chasing blacklisters all day long and Raymond pulling his little games and making you wonder what he's like you said, you saw him at a pool, you saw him at a dock. I think I saw him maybe a junkyard or something. Just like these typical no-nonsense, nothing's happening places, and it looks like Elizabeth Keene's just like, hey, what's up? I'm hanging out with Dad. What's going on? So I wonder, too, is that more than one episode? What's going on? When does the suitcase come into play? When,
Spoiler alert, the suitcase will make its appearance at the mid-season finale.
Oh, it could be,
Just
man.
saying.
It
So
could
you have
be.
a whole off-season in between the two parts of the season.
I can't wait that long. I can't wait.
I have to because it's a show. This show is what? It's the 5th season. We just found out that Red's the father after 4 seasons. This show is a dragger. It's dragging.
Well, I'm not going to let it happen. So I will become my own Raymond Reddington, and I will call NBC, and I'll tell them absolutely not. You give me that suitcase in episode 2, what happens in episode 3, who dies in episode 4, and then the rest can all be about Raymond Reddington, the hero.
You're going to have to wait like 3 months before you see that suitcase, my friend.
Oh, God, that's going to be brutal.
22 episodes? So 11 episodes each, or is it 10 and 12? How's it work?
I think it's 11 and 11. I haven't looked up this season exactly how they split it up or what they're doing or if they're doing anything at all. But
for episode 11, we'll see the suitcase. That's just my prediction. Don't quote me on that.
No. Oh, I'm gonna, and you watch, because when it shows up episode 2 and we start to find out, I'm sending you that text message and I say, we're getting on video tonight, and you're gonna admit to everybody you were wrong.
And I'm gonna tell everybody right now what I'm gonna say then. When you're right, when you're wrong 65% of the time, you're right 35% of the time. That's just the way it is.
I don't know that works, but fine. So, anything else you want to throw out there to people right before we get off of here?
No, actually, I'm just excited, looking forward to the next season. It's coming really soon. We waited long enough, and I really, like you said earlier, I want to see what direction they take these characters to. And what's the new twist and turns? Because all we've seen right now from the trailers and everything is just a bunch of laid-back ranch life where they're walking around in yachts and pools.
Like happy-go-lucky, right?
Something's got to change. The shoes got to drop.
Nothing terrible has ever happened.
I've seen this before. It gets really bad really fast in shows like this when this starts like that.
That's right. That's right.
But that's it, man.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Hey, next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, NBC, The Blacklist returns. Check it out. We'll be back shortly thereafter with another one of these videos to recap and review and tell you our thoughts on how awesome that suitcase was and how wrong Pete was. So get ready for that. In the meantime, check us out, So Many Shows, SoManyShows.com, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Hit that like button. And, hey, if you want to tell Pete he's wrong, see right down there, those comments, tell him. We'll see you next time.
And if you want to tell Pete he's right, the same comment.
And this is where we say,